The alarm rang through the Galactic Council's monitoring station. Red lights flashed across the dark control room. 5 pairs of alien eyes looked up from their screens. "Unknown ship detected in Sector 9, said Officer Minji Park. Her 6-fingered hands moved quickly over the control panel. The large screen in front of them showed a small dot moving slowly near the edge of their space. Fleet Commander Taho Kim walked to the main screen. His tall, blue-skinned body stood straight as he studied the image. "Magnify," he ordered. The screen zoomed in. The ship was unlike any they had seen before. It was dark gray with smooth edges. It moved with purpose, as if it knew exactly where it was going. "No matching design in our database," said Minji. "It doesn't look like any known species." Commander Taho nodded slowly. In his 200 years of service, he had seen many strange things, but this was different. The ship moved too smoothly, too confidently for an unknown vessel. "Prepare 3 scout ships," he ordered. "I will lead the investigation myself." Within 1 hour, Taho's small fleet jumped through space toward Sector 9. His second-in-command, Officer Do-Yun Kang, sat beside him on the bridge. "Sir, what do you think it is?" asked Do-Yun. His yellow eyes blinked nervously. "I don't know," said Taho. "But anything unknown is potentially dangerous." Their ships arrived at the coordinates. The strange vessel hung in space before them, much larger than it had appeared on the screens. Its hull was smooth and dark, with no visible weapons, but something about it made Taho's skin tingle with warning. "Scan it," he ordered. Officer Sungmin Choi activated the scanners. "Sir, our scans can't penetrate the hull. It's made of. I don't know what it's made of." "Try to communicate," said Taho. Sungmin sent the standard greeting message in all known languages. They waited. No response came. "Move closer," ordered Taho. Full defensive shields up. As their ships approached, something changed. The dark vessel seemed to wake up. Small panels opened along its hull. "Sir," shouted Do-Yun. "Energy spike." Before they could react, a pulse of invisible energy washed over their ships. Their screens flickered and went dark. The engines hummed but didn't respond. "We've lost all systems," reported Sungmin. "Wait, they're coming back online." The screens lit up again, but the scanners no longer worked. The strange ship had somehow disabled only their ability to gather information. "A precise attack," said Taho quietly. "They could have destroyed us, but they only blinded us." "Very interesting." Chief Science Officer Minji Park studied the readings from before the attack. "Commander, I found something in our initial scan. The design elements. They're not like anything in our database, but some components look familiar." She pulled up images on the screen, comparing parts of the ship to known designs. "These engine configurations, they're advanced versions of..." "No, that can't be right." "What is it?" asked Taho. Minji looked up, her face showing shock. "Commander, some elements match human technology. Very basic human technology, but the pattern is clear." The bridge went silent. Humans were known to the Council, of course. A primitive species from a small blue planet, barely able to reach their own moon. They had been classified as a Type 3 civilization, pre-FTL, minimal space presence, no threat. "Impossible," said Do-Yun. "Humans can't build ships like this. They were evaluated just 80 years ago." Taho stared at the dark vessel. "It seems," he said slowly, "that we have greatly underestimated the humans." The unknown ship suddenly powered its engines. It moved away from them at incredible speed, then vanished in a flash of light. "It jumped to FTL," said Sungmin. "Sir, what do we do now?" Commander Taho's face was grim. "We report to the Council. The humans are no longer confined to their system, and they're building warships." The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was filled with worried voices. Representatives from 7 advanced species sat around a large round table. Holograms floated above, showing images of the human ship. Commander Tahoe stood in the center, finishing his report. The ship disabled our scanners with technology we have never seen before. Then it jumped to FTL speeds that our ships cannot match. Council leader Hannah Cho leaned forward. Her 4 eyes blinked with concern. And you believe this is a human vessel? How is this possible? Intelligence officer Ju Li stepped forward. She was small with pale green skin and carried a data tablet. I have studied all our information on humans, she said. Our last official contact was 80 years ago. We classified them as pre-FTL with minimal space presence. She tapped her tablet and a hologram of Earth appeared. However, I found something interesting. There have been scattered reports of advanced human ships for the past 20 years. These reports were dismissed as mistakes or false alarms. Why were these reports ignored? Asked Tahoe. Juwu looked uncomfortable. Because they did not match our understanding of human capabilities. No species has ever advanced so quickly. Council member Hyun Woo-shin, the oldest among them, spoke in a deep voice. There is more to this story. Something that few know. He pressed a button, and the room darkened. A new hologram appeared, showing Earth and a fleet of Council ships. 60 years ago, Council forces attempted to establish control over Earth. It was a standard operation for a primitive world with good resources. The room was very quiet now. This was not in any public record. The mission failed completely, continued Hyunwoo. All ships were destroyed. The humans fought with unexpected skill and determination. The Council decided to leave Earth alone and classify the records. So humans have had access to our technology for 60 years? Asked Minji. Yes, said Hyunwoo. Ships that crashed on their planet. But we never imagined they could understand it, let alone improve it. Jiwoo brought up new images. I found more recent intelligence. Humans have united their planet under one government. They call it the Earth Alliance. Their technological progress has been extraordinary. The images showed human space stations and ships. They looked primitive compared to the vessel they had encountered. These are decoys, said Tahoe suddenly. The humans want us to think they are less advanced than they really are. Exactly, said Juwoo. They are hiding their true capabilities. Council leader Hannah stood up. We must learn more about this human ship and its purpose. Is it a scout? Part of a larger fleet? Are they planning revenge for our past actions? I volunteer to continue tracking the human vessel, said Tahoe. My ship is fastest and my crew experienced. Be careful, Commander, warned Hyunwoo. If humans can build a ship like the one you encountered, they may have more surprises. As the meeting ended, Tahoe walked with Minji to the docking bay. What do you think the humans want? She asked. I don't know, said Tahoe. But I have studied Earth history from our records. Humans are strange creatures. They fight among themselves constantly, yet they can unite against outside threats. They can be brutal, yet they value mercy. They are unpredictable. That makes them dangerous, said Minji. Yes, agreed Tahoe, but also interesting. Their ship prepared to leave the Council station. Tahoe looked at the star map, at the last known position of the human vessel. Set course for Sector 12, he ordered. Our intelligence suggests the human ship is heading there. As their ship jumped to FTL, Tahoe wondered what they would find. The humans were no longer the primitive species the Council had dismissed. They had built a warship that could outmatch Council technology. And they were moving through Council space with confidence. The hunter becomes the hunted, Tahoe said quietly to himself. He had a feeling that the humans already knew they were coming. Commander Tahoe's 3 ships moved quietly through space. They kept their distance from the human vessel. 6 hours had passed since they began following it. The human ship moved in a straight line, showing no signs that it knew it was being watched. Status report, ordered Tahoe. Lieutenant Do-Yun Kang looked up from his weapon controls. The human ship is maintaining its course and speed. No change in energy readings. Can we get any scan data yet? Asked Tahoe. No, sir, said Do-Yun. Their hull still blocks our scans, but from visual data, I can tell their weapons systems are far more advanced than ours. How can you know that without scans? Asked Minji. Do-young pointed to the screen. Look at these parts of their ship. The shape and placement match weapon systems, but they're unlike any design I've seen. Based on size alone, I estimate their firepower could destroy our entire fleet. Tahoe frowned. The Council had made a mistake ignoring humans for so long. Now they faced a species that had grown too powerful, too quickly. Sir, called Sungmin from communications, the human ship is changing course. On the main screen, they watched as the human vessel turned sharply. Its new path would bring it directly toward them. Impossible, whispered Minji. They can't know we're here. We're using our stealth systems. Increase distance, ordered Tahoe. Move back slowly. Their ships began to retreat, but the human vessel suddenly accelerated. It moved at a speed that seemed impossible, closing the gap quickly. They're coming right for us, said Do-young, his voice tight with fear. Their speed is. I've never seen anything move that fast in normal space. Defensive positions, said Tahoe calmly, but do not power weapons unless I order it. The human ship was now visible to the naked eye through the bridge windows. It was massive and beautiful in a strange way. Its dark hull reflected the distant stars. They're hailing us, said Sungmin suddenly. Audio and visual. Tahoe straightened his uniform. Put it on screen. The main screen flickered, and a human face appeared. It was a female with short black hair and dark eyes. She wore a simple gray uniform with no visible rank or insignia. Greetings, Commander Tahoe Kim of the Galactic Council, she said in perfect galactic standard. I am Captain Ji-Hyun of the Earth Alliance vessel Protective Edge. The bridge crew exchanged shocked looks. The human knew Tahoe's name. How do you know who I am? Asked Tahoe. Captain Yoon smiled slightly. We've been aware of your surveillance since you first detected us. We decided to allow it. Allow it, repeated Tahoe. Yes, said Captain Yoon. We wanted to observe your response. Now we would like to move to the next step. We will escort you to a neutral location for discussion. Escort us, said Tahoe. You make it sound like we have no choice. The human captain's expression remained friendly, but her eyes were serious. You have choices, Commander, but I should inform you that we have disabled your engine override systems, for safety reasons. Do-young checked his console quickly. Sir, she's right. We can't activate emergency jump. Tahoe realized with a chill that they were not tracking the humans. The humans were tracking them. Had been from the start. We mean you no harm, continued Captain Yoon. We simply wish to establish formal contact. The space station Epsilon 6 is 2 hours from our position at standard speed. We will meet there. The screen went blank before Tahoe could respond. Sir, what do we do? Asked Minji. Tahoe looked at the human ship through the window. It now moved alongside them, like a giant predator escorting smaller prey. We go to Epsilon 6, he said quietly, and we learn what humans want. As they changed course for the space station, Tahoe wondered when the roles had reversed. When had his people become the primitive ones? Space Station Epsilon 6 floated quietly at the edge of neutral space. It was an old trading post, used by many species. Its circular main hall was now empty except for 2 groups facing each other across a simple table. Commander Tahoe sat with Minji Park, Do-young Kang, and Engineer Hyum Woo-shin. On the other side sat 4 humans led by Captain Ji-Hyun. Tahoe studied the humans carefully. They looked so plain, so simple. They had no special features like the other races of the galaxy. But their eyes showed intelligence and confidence. Thank you for agreeing to meet, said Captain Yoon. Her voice was calm and friendly. We had little choice, said Tahoe. You disabled our ships. Captain Yoon smiled. A temporary measure. Your systems are fully functional again. Tahoe checked with Do-young, who nodded confirmation. Now, said Captain Yoon, I believe you have questions. Many, said Taiho. Starting with how humans have advanced so quickly. Just 80 years ago, you were barely able to reach your own moon. Captain Yun looked at her team members, then back at Taiho. That's simple. We had help. Help? From whom? From you, she said. Or rather, from the council ships that attacked Earth 60 years ago. Engineer Hyunwoo leaned forward. But those ships were destroyed. Not completely, said one of the humans, a tall man with gray hair. I am Chief Engineer Junho Lee. We recovered parts from the crashed ships. Your technology was advanced, but not impossible to understand. Impossible, said Hyunwoo. No species could reverse engineer our technology so quickly. Junho smiled. That's where you're wrong. Humans have two special traits. First, we adapt quickly. Second, we had a long history of warfare. We know how to take apart weapons and make them better. Taiho noticed that the humans spoke of war so easily, as if it were normal. Your ship, said Minji. The protective edge. Its technology seems beyond even council standards. In some ways, yes, said Captain Yun. We improved on your designs. Your power systems were inefficient. Your FTL drives were slower than they needed to be. You had the right ideas, but you stopped developing them centuries ago. Why? Asked Taiho. Why build such a powerful warship? Captain Yun's face became serious. Because we learned about the Council's usual methods. How you treat primitive species like ours. She touched a device on her wrist, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed planets, dozens of them, with data flowing beside each image. These are worlds where the Council has established presence, she said. What your records don't say is that on each world, you've taken resources, established control, and kept the native species dependent on you. Taiho felt uncomfortable. What she said was true, but it was not spoken of openly. Ambassador Junsu Park of your council arrived on Earth 50 years ago, continued Captain Yun. He offered us protection and guidance in exchange for allowing council bases on our planet. What happened to Ambassador Park? Asked Minji. He returned safely to council space, said Captain Yun. But we declined the offer. We studied your history after that. We learned what happens to species that accept council protection. So you built warships, said Taiho. We built ships capable of defending ourselves, corrected Captain Yun, and capable of traveling far enough to learn the truth about the council. One of the humans slid a small device across the table. This contains proof of the council's actions on 23 worlds. Systems where native populations have become servants to council interests. Taiho picked up the device. He knew there was truth in what the humans said. The council maintained order in the galaxy, but at a cost. What do humans want? He asked finally. Captain Yun's eyes met his. Change, she said simply. And we're prepared to force it if necessary. The council chambers were filled with angry voices. The emergency meeting had been going for 3 hours. Commander Taiho watched as the council members argued about the human ship and its meaning. They are threatening us, shouted one council member. We should destroy this ship before more arrive. We cannot fight them, said another. Did you not hear the reports? Their technology is beyond ours. Council leader Hannah raised her hands for quiet. We have more information now, she said. Tactical analyst Seojin Kim has discovered something important. Seojin, a tall figure with silver skin, stepped forward. We have found records of human ships in many systems, he said. They've been mapping our territory for years. They know where all our bases are. And that's not all, added Intelligence Officer Juwoo. The human vessel Protective Edge is not their largest ship. According to our sources, it's just a mid-sized patrol ship. A worried murmur ran through the room. The name of their ship is important, continued Juwoo. Protective Edge. It suggests defense, not attack. They claim they want to change how the council operates, said Taiho. They know about our methods on developing worlds. No one spoke for a moment. The Council's treatment of pre-FTL civilizations was not discussed openly. We should invite Captain Yoon to address the Council directly, suggested Minji. 2 days later, Captain Yoon stood in the center of the Council chamber. Her simple gray uniform looked plain among the colorful robes of the Council members. "Thank you for this opportunity," she began. "I will be direct. Humanity has discovered evidence of systematic exploitation of pre-FTL civilizations by Council races." She activated a hologram showing the small green planet. "This is Nera 7, a beautiful world with a peaceful civilization. They are at the early industrial stage. The Council has 3 mining operations on their world. The locals think you are gods. They work in your mines for blessings that are simply basic medicine and food." Several Council members looked away, uncomfortable. "This is just one example," continued Captain Yoon. "We have found 27 similar cases." "What is your point?" asked Council Leader Hana. "The purpose of our ship, and others like it, is not conquest," said Captain Yoon. "We're part of a humanitarian mission to identify and liberate exploited species." "Liberate?" repeated Hana. "You mean interfere with Council operations?" "Yes," said Captain Yoon simply. "We believe all species deserve the right to develop without exploitation." Taho watched the faces of the Council members. Some looked angry, others guilty. He had followed orders his entire career. He had helped establish Council presence on several worlds. He had never questioned these actions before. "And if we refuse to change our methods?" asked Hana. Captain Yoon's face remained calm. "We prefer peaceful solutions, but we are prepared to use force if necessary. The Protective Edge is just one of many ships. Earth now has the largest fleet in this sector of the galaxy." "You threaten war?" asked an older Council member. "We offer cooperation," corrected Captain Yoon. "But we will not allow exploitation to continue." As the meeting ended, Taho walked with Captain Yoon toward the docking bay. "Your people will not give up power easily," said Taho. "We know," she replied. "But we also know that several Council races are uncomfortable with current policies. They might become our allies." Taho stopped walking. "Like me, you mean?" Captain Yoon looked at him with understanding eyes. "I've read your service record, Commander. You follow orders, but you treat all species with respect. You're not like the others." Taho felt torn between duty and what he knew was right. "The Council will prepare for war," he said quietly. "So will we," said Captain Yoon. "But there's a difference. You fight to maintain control. We fight to set others free." As the human captain boarded her shuttle, Taho wondered which side would win, and more importantly, which side he should be on. News spread fast through the galaxy. The word moved from planet to planet, system to system. Humans were challenging the Council. Humans were standing up for the weaker species. Chief Strategist Hana Cho stared at the reports flooding her screen. "This is not good," she said to Commander Tayo. "Look at these systems." The screen showed dozens of planets glowing red. On each world, the local species was pushing back against Council control. "They're all rising up at once," said Tayo. "How is this possible?" "The humans," said Hana. "They must have been sending messages for years, preparing for this moment." Taho moved to the window of the Council station. Outside, ships were gathering. The Council was calling in its battle fleets from all sectors. "3 Council members have already cut ties with us," said Hana. "They've joined with the humans." "Which ones?" asked Taho. "The Nari, the Voltan, and the Sarek." Taho wasn't surprised. Those 3 species had always been uncomfortable with Council methods. They had joined the Council for protection, not to become part of its empire. A loud alarm sounded through the station. Red lights flashed. "What's happening?" asked Taho. Officer Sungmin rushed into the room. "Sir, the human fleet has been spotted. They're near the Doral system." Hana pulled up the star map. "That's where we have our largest mining operation. The Council is sending a battle fleet to stop them, said Sungmin. 20 capital ships. Taho shook his head. It won't be enough. 3 hours later, they watched the battle recordings in shock. The Council fleet had found the humans near Dural. They had fired without warning. What happened next was hard to believe. The human ships had moved with impossible speed. They had surrounded the Council fleet. Then, instead of destroying the Council ships, they had simply stopped them. Some kind of energy field had shut down all systems on the Council vessels. Not a single casualty, whispered Hannah. They could have destroyed our ships, but they just disabled them. Political officer Min-Soo Kwan entered the room, his face pale. 3 more Council species have announced they're leaving the Alliance. They're forming a new group with Earth. Which ones? Asked Taho. The Gen, the Kree, and the Toria. Taho felt a chill. Those were 3 of the oldest and most powerful Council members. The Council is falling apart, said Hannah. On the screens around them, they could see more reports coming in. On dozens of worlds, the local people were driving out Council forces. Council ships were retreating from system after system. The remaining Council leaders are planning something desperate, said Min-Soo. They're talking about using the Sun Killer. Taho turned sharply. The Sun Killer. That weapon hasn't been used in 1,000 years. They're afraid, said Hannah. They're losing control. Taho made a decision then. He had served the Council his whole life, but what the humans said was true. The Council had become corrupt. It had forgotten its original purpose of protecting the galaxy. I need to speak with Captain Yoon, he said. Why? Asked Min-Soo. To warn her. The Sun Killer can destroy entire star systems. If the Council uses it, millions will die. That would be treason, said Min-Soo. Taho looked at his old friend. Maybe. Or maybe it's the right thing to do. Hannah surprised him by nodding. Go. I'll cover for you as long as I can. As Taho hurried to his ship, he thought about what Captain Yoon had said. The Council fought to control. The humans fought to free. It was time to choose a side. Behind him, the Council station buzzed with activity. The remaining leaders were preparing for war, gathering their last loyal fleets. But Taho knew it was too late. The age of Council rule was ending. The human ship Protective Edge rejoined the Earth fleet near the liberated world of Nara 7. Captain Jae-Yoon stood on the bridge, watching as her ship took its place among hundreds of others. The human armada was impressive, ships of all sizes forming a protective ring around the planet. Commander Taho stood beside her, still wearing his Council uniform. He had made his choice. How many worlds have been freed? He asked. 17 so far, said Captain Yoon. And more are calling for help each day. Taho looked at the fleet display. The human ships were positioned perfectly, creating defensive networks that would be hard to break. The Council is desperate, he said. They're preparing the Sun Killer weapon. Captain Yoon's face grew serious. Are you certain? Yes, it can destroy entire star systems. They plan to use it as a warning, to show what happens to those who defy them. Communications Officer Sungmin, who had also defected with Taho, worked quickly at his station. Captain, I'm intercepting Council transmissions. They're discussing the target for the Sun Killer. Can you tell which system they plan to hit? Asked Captain Yoon. Sungmin's face went pale. It's this one. They plan to destroy Nara 7 as an example. Taho felt sick. Nara 7 had a population of billions. How much time do we have? The weapon will be in position in 6 hours, said Sungmin. Captain Yoon turned to her crew. Alert all ships. Deploy the gate network. We need to intercept that weapon before it gets here. Taho looked confused. Gate network. Captain Yoon smiled slightly. Our greatest achievement, you'll see. The human crews moved with speed and purpose. Within an hour, small devices were positioned at key points throughout the system. They looked simple, just small metal rings floating in space. What are those? Asked Taho. Transportation gates, explained Engineer Juno. They create instant pathways between distant points in space. Tahoe's eyes widened. Instant. That's impossible. For the Council, maybe, said Jono. But we found a way. Reports came in that the Council had launched its attack. Thousands of ships were moving toward human-protected systems. The largest force was heading for Nera 7, escorting the Sun Killer. They're coming from all directions, said Tactical Officer Doyun, who had also joined Tahoe in defecting. Even with our technology, we can't be everywhere at once. We don't need to be, said Captain Yun calmly. She pressed a button on her command chair. The small gates throughout the system began to glow with blue light. Then, suddenly, hundreds of human ships appeared near each gate. They had traveled instantly from distant points in space. The gate network, said Tahoe in wonder. You can move your fleet anywhere in moments. Exactly, said Captain Yun. Our ships aren't faster than Council ships. But with the gates, we can be everywhere at once. The Council fleet appeared at the edge of the system. They moved forward in attack formation, the Sun Killer weapon at their center. It was a massive device that glowed with dark energy. All ships, defensive positions, ordered Captain Yun. Remember, minimal casualties. We disable, not destroy. The human ships moved into position. They formed a perfect wall between the Council fleet and Nera 7. Tahoe watched in amazement as the human fleet activated their systems. Energy fields spread between ships, creating a defensive net that would be nearly impossible to break. The Council doesn't know what they're facing, he said. No, agreed Captain Yun. They still think they're the most advanced species in the galaxy. As the two fleets faced each other, Tahoe realized this would be the battle that decided the future of the galaxy. Not through destruction, but through protection. The humans hadn't built their warships to conquer. They had built them to defend. The battle was short. The Council ships fired first, their weapons blazing across space toward the human fleet. But the human defenses held strong. Energy shields absorbed the attacks without damage. Then the humans responded. They did not fire destructive weapons. Instead, they sent out waves of small drones that attached to Council ships. One by one, the Council vessels lost power. They drifted helplessly in space. The Sun Killer weapon never had a chance to fire. Human ships surrounded it. Special teams boarded the weapon and shut it down. The entire battle took less than an hour. Commander Tahoe watched it all from the bridge of the protective edge. I've never seen anything like this, he said. In all my years of service, I've never seen a battle won so completely with so few casualties. Captain Yun nodded. That was our goal. We wanted to stop the Council, not destroy them. The Council leadership surrendered 2 days later. Their ships were disabled, their weapon taken, their allies gone. They had no choice. Captain Yun and Commander Tahoe led the team that boarded the Council's main station. The Council leaders sat around their grand table, their faces showing defeat. What will happen to us now? Asked the head counselor. Will humans rule the galaxy instead? No, said Captain Yun. We have no desire to replace one empire with another. She activated a hologram showing planets from across the galaxy. We have evidence of the Council's actions on these worlds. The exploitation, the control, the harm you've caused. This will be shared with all spacefaring civilizations. Tahoe stepped forward. He carried a data device containing the Council's secret files. I have provided Captain Yun with the complete records of Council operations. All species will know what you have done. The Council members looked away in shame. But we are not here for revenge, continued Captain Yun. We are here to build something new. 3 weeks later, representatives from 47 species gathered on Earth. It was the first meeting of the Galactic Alliance. Captain Yun and Commander Tahoe stood together, watching as species that had once been enemies now talked as equals. Will it work? Asked Tahoe. So many different species with different interests. It won't be easy, said Engineer Hyunwoo, who was helping build the new Alliance headquarters. But we have a model that might work. On Earth, we call it the United Nations. Different countries working together for common goals while keeping their independence. Around them, the human warships were changing. Weapons were being removed. Medical facilities and science labs were being added. What will happen to ships like the Protective Edge? Asked Tao. They'll be transformed into humanitarian vessels, said Captain Yun, to help rebuild worlds damaged by Council rule. That evening, Captain Yun invited Tao to visit a special room in the Earth Delegation building. It was filled with books, pictures, and old objects. These are Earth's historical archives, she explained. I wanted to show you something important. She showed him images of human history, wars, battles, suffering. Humans fighting humans. We were once just as divided and brutal as the Council, she said. We fought each other for land, resources, power. But we learned, slowly, that cooperation is stronger than domination. Tahoe looked at the images with surprise. I never knew humans had such a violent past. Yes, said Captain Yun. That's why we understood the Council so well. We recognized the pattern because we lived it ourselves. But we also learned how to break it. As they left the archives, they passed a window overlooking the new Alliance buildings. Ships from dozens of worlds filled the sky above. True power, said Captain Yun, comes not from conquering others, but from bringing them together. Tahoe nodded. The unknown human warship that had appeared in deep space had not come to conquer after all. It had come to change the galaxy for the better, and it had succeeded.